amending the zoning ordinance by amending Article 5 entitled District Regulations to revise the use regulations in the highway, commercial, light industrial, and neighborhood commercial zoning districts, and by amending Articles 2 and 7 entitled Definitions and Performance Regulations to add medical marijuana related definitions and establishing regulations for medical marijuana dispensaries and grower processor facilities, which by law you need to make sure in your zoning that you provide for zoning districts which would allow medical marijuana related facilities. By law you cannot exclude them by zoning. You need to allow them. So you found a place for them in your zoning districts within the township, and that's why we had to do this.
Okay, I'm going to summarize this process, and then when we're done, before we take action, we'll open up the floor for any questions or comments that you might have. Back in I guess it was late 2016, when the township rezoned some property on the north side of the turnpike along 625 to highway commercial. As the Lancaster County Planning Commission recommended the rezoning, they also recommended that we would take a look at the permitted uses by right in our commercial districts, because they felt like we had a lot of items permitted by right and wasn't consistent with other townships, other municipalities. So after the rezoning was complete, this board asked our Planning Commission to take a look at the zoning, the commercial zoning districts, and evaluate the permitted uses and the conditional use, for the special condition and conditional uses. And so the Planning Commission worked for over a year on coming up with revised text for the neighborhood commercial, revised text for the highway commercial, and revised text in the light industry. They came back to this board with their recommendations. We had our solicitor drafted into an ordinance and it was forwarded to Lancaster County Planning Commission for their review. Their review was favorable. In fact, I want to read a letter from their review. Per word, it says, Brecknock Township is to be commended for taking the initiative to amend its zoning regulations in order to address medical marijuana dispensaries and growing process facilities. It is also commendable that the township has comprehensively addressed use regulations in its neighborhood commercial, highway commercial, and L&I zoning district as a follow-up to the rezoning for commercial and industrial purpose uses along 625 corridor in the village of Bowmansville. Lancaster County Planning Commission staff recommends approval of these proposed zoning text amendments. What we have is just basically replacing the text of the neighborhood commercial, highway commercial, and light industry. And it was more a process of just moving some items from permitted by right to special exception, and being consistent with other municipalities in the area. We looked at Carnarvon's, we looked at East Earl's, and we patterned the after that. So again, this had gone to the Planning Commission. They put this together. They brought it back to us. We forwarded it to the Lancaster County Planning Commission. They highly recommended and approved these text amendment changes. And tonight, it's our opportunity then to put these into motion. Now, there's been some question about the marijuana thing. And when the state and the governor signed the bill, the Marijuana Act, that allows for the growth of medical marijuana in Pennsylvania and the sale of medical marijuana in Pennsylvania. If I say marijuana, I mean medical marijuana. But when the state passed a law that made it legal to grow and sell, we were advised through the Pennsylvania State Association of Township Supervisors that we need to address this, because if you have nothing on your books, then you have no control over it. I'll compare it to tobacco. Tobacco is permitted use to grow and sell in Pennsylvania. Our township has no regulations against where you can grow and sell tobacco. Meanwhile, so it can be done anywhere. When the state legalized the sale of medical marijuana and in dispensaries and growing, we had actually no regulations at all. The township had no leverage to discourage or regulate the growing and selling of medical marijuana. So we followed the state's recommendations. We created an area in light industry, and the facility must be totally enclosed. It's almost like a lab setting. It has to be totally enclosed under 24-hour surveillance. I doubt if we'll ever see this happen, but if it would, it'd be totally under the state regulations. You cannot sell marijuana in the same area you're growing it. So the area for selling of dispensaries of marijuana was recommended in your highway commercial. Again, there's a whole number of pages and performance regulations that has to meet, in addition to the state has its own requirements before they would issue a permit. None of the marijuana can be grown or sold without a state permit. But if someone got a permit, we've now are planning to put into process some strict regulations and performance standards that would really require only select spots, and we'd be tightly controlled. So, are there any questions? Yes. Yes.
As I understand it, 3 districts are being affected, highway or light industrial, highway commercial, and neighborhood commercial, right? And
Affected with what?
you're changing the ordinance for those 3 districts, correct? You're changing the zoning regulations for those 3 districts.
The zoning text was
Okay.
revised to those 3.
What specifically is the language that you're changing for neighborhood commercial?
I don't know if anything got really changed. Very little. That was the one that was we looked at, but it was like there was really no changes.
Some of it was, I mean, let's just clarify one thing up front, that no marijuana would be in neighborhood commercial, regardless of what Brecknock News said. So it's just a matter of more items being in special exceptions and needing a more thorough review of the small shops, small restaurants, and things like that. So there's a lot. Most of the changes were from permitted uses to special exceptions in neighborhood commercial.
That's right, I think, and you also allowed ag uses, I think, as a permitted use.
Okay, could be, yeah.
In the neighborhood commercial.
And it was not allowed permitted.
Where is it specifically said that makes allocation or allows the processing of medical marijuana? Is it light industrial? Is it highway commercial?
Okay, there's 2 things there. One is processing, which is growing, is only permitted in light industry.
Okay.
You cannot grow it anywhere else.
Okay.
And it has to be, there's the whole 2 pages of regulation performance standards. Plus you have
We're following the state
to
regulations.
state regulations.
You have to follow
And-
the performance regulations of the state.
The only place you could put up a dispensary is in highway commercial, no other place. And again, it's following the state recommended guidelines.
Okay.
And then it has to be a certain distance from a resident. It can't be within a certain distance from a cash, an ATM machine. There's just, and again, I can briefly. I thought I highlighted something here. Yeah, in the dispensary, a medical marijuana dispensary can only dispense medical marijuana in an indoor, enclosed, permanent, and secure building, and not be located in a trailer, cargo container, mobile, modular unit, mobile home, recreational vehicle, or other motor vehicle. Like I said, it has to be in a totally indoor, enclosed, permanent, secure building, and it would have to meet the state's permit.
And that's accepted use in the highway commercial district.
Special exceptions.
By
Special exceptions.
Not as a right.
So, okay, I'm okay with light industrial, I'm okay with highway commercial. What exactly are the changes for neighborhood commercial?
I don't think there was any.
Well, it's just that some of the permitted uses got moved into special exceptions. That's the basic.
What specifically? What exactly was changing? You know, the reason why is because I'm right next to highway, neighborhood, commercial. So I want to know what the changes are in the neighborhood commercial zoning.
Well, it's, permitted uses are apartment dwellings, municipal uses. All the permitted uses are still permitted. There's not,
Okay.
nothing was added as a permitted use that wasn't there.
Okay,
Some items were moved from permitted to special exception.
what were the,
So now under special exception, banks and financial institutions, bed and breakfast establishment, child daycare, convenience stores, emergency service facility, home occupations, farm produce market, libraries, parking lots, playgrounds, parks, physician facilities, private owned, professional offices, public and private educational facilities, restaurants with drive-in, self-service laundries, service stations, and studios and shops and artisans. I don't think anything was added that wasn't previously in the permitted or special exception.
okay,
Because I know, and Mike can attest, I think very little discussion was done with the neighborhood commercial.
okay,
It was the whole focus was, we had 35 some items that were permitted as a right within the highway commercial, highway commercial. And we reduced that to like 9.
okay. The advertisement said that those 3 districts were being changed. So
We did
my
have
interest
to-
was the,
yeah. We
neighborhood
did change
commercial.
them. Even if it's minor, we have to state every zoning district that's
Okay.
being amended, which,
okay,
I knock on wood, but I don't think we'll have issues with the medical marijuana, because I think, did I just read that there was like 8 applications that were denied from
Yeah.
the state?
there's only, so many, like I
Yeah.
thought 20, maybe
Limited.
24, it's limited under the statute as to how many facilities can be in Pennsylvania. It's very limited. And they have to have a lot of financial backing to have those facilities. It's very hard to
But
get
that-
that backing.
As of today, if someone got a permit, however they got it, if we're within Brecknock Township, the township would have no ability to regulate, enforce, or do anything. This would at least, if someone got a permit and tried to grow it in ag, they could get a notice of violation and a citation. But the township could take a very active role. Highway commercial and light industry per the ordinance that was prepared. Is there a number for that?
218-2018.
So ordinance number 218-218, the Brecknock, revising the amended chapter 110 zoning.
I'll second.
Okay, the motion was made and seconded. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries.